So I don't know if people have been seeing what's been happening in the west coast of Canada right now, in BC in particular. They have had significant rainfall over the past few days, and witnessing the damages that were done by this catastrophic storm, or as they call it, an atmospheric river that poured and drenched communities in BC along the coastal lines. It's almost mimicking what we just saw with the hurricanes just not too long ago. And some people are even speculating that this may have been intentional, and you'll see why in a second. But I want to bring attention to this article. This is from City News reporting this. They said a dozen BC daily rainfall records fall as staggering atmospheric river pounds the south coast. A 3-day atmospheric river that pounded BC's south coast over the weekend and caused damaging flash floods also smashed a dozen daily rainfall records. Quotidian peak for all of them, 256 millimeters recorded over the 3-day storm stretch. West Vancouver also saw over 200 millimeters, even downtown Vancouver topping 175 millimeters of precipitation over 3 steady days, he explained. The massive storm saw flash flooding across the lower mainland, with parts of Vancouver, Burnaby, and Surrey all underwater. Coquitlam and North Vancouver were hit by major floods and even mudslides. On Monday, police in the province confirmed that at least 2 people were killed during the storm, with another suspected to have been washed away on Vancouver Island near Banfield. Search crews on Monday confirmed that a 57-year-old woman has been found dead at her home, was swept away in Coquitlam. Mounties say that they were called out for a report on the slide on Quarry Road around 12:30 p.m. Meanwhile, 6 properties in North Vancouver remain under an evacuation order due to unstable ground. The heaviest rain, the longest lasting rain, of course, was on Saturday. 12 new daily records for rainfall around the province, including West Vancouver, 134.6 millimeters, breaking the old record of just 34 millimeters. YVR had 67 millimeters, a new one. New records in Pitt Meadows, White Rock, Lanley, Chilliwack, Agassiz, hope that's how you pronounce it, Abbotsford, and all new daily rainfall records for October 19th. Kitz said more rain fell in Coquitlam than Tofino, he added. Pretty much everywhere else saw the 100 to 200 millimeter range across the lower mainland. Listen live to, okay, so that's just that. So here's this lady here. This is Jacqueline Whittle, who I believe she's a reporter for the Weather Network, I do believe. It's at the end of the tweet there, it says for the Weather Network. So she goes into detail about the atmospheric river rain, which apparently in layman's terms is when there's a huge amount of rainfall that happens all at once. It makes kind of like a river falling out of the sky. And that's where they coined the phrase atmospheric river. But she's going to go into detail on how devastating this is and also how impactful this is for local creeks and rivers within the Vancouver, BC area. Listen to this.
The atmospheric river event here in British Columbia continues on Sunday morning after well over 200 millimeters of rain fell in many areas. And you can hear around me the rushing water and some local waterfalls here in Lynn Canyon, which is on the North Shore Mountains. You can actually hear it, and you can look at some visuals that I'm putting up right now. The power of the water, right? This is why flash flooding can happen when you've got all this water piling up from the North Shore Mountains, which saw a steady stream of moisture from this atmospheric river. It all has to come down somewhere, right? And so that's how we can get other tributaries and creeks and rivers to swell and potentially flash flood. It should be more stable today. We are looking at an additional 20 to 40 millimeters of rainfall, but the bulk of the rain has fallen, which is good news. But do stay safe. A lot of these parks have actually been closed off because of the flash flooding risk. But do be safe if you're anywhere near ponding and pooling. There's a lot of hydroplaning that's happening out on the highways. I've experienced that as well. And of course, we know that there are some mudslides and landslides locally in Coquitlam that have occurred with this event already. I'm going to be making my way back across the mountains into the interior, so I'll see about any flooding that has occurred on the major highways. Of course, after the 2021 event, everybody on extra guard when we see, a Category 4 atmospheric river coming at the coast.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And as it is just horrific, the amount of rainfall that has fallen, but beautiful scene, I gotta say. Like, just watching the shots of the waterfall and where she is over that bridge there. I mean, that's the beauty of Canada right there. That's the one thing I can say to people coming into the country, or to my American viewers or anyone abroad that's watching this. Yes, we have corrupted politicians. Yes, we're stuck with Justin Trudeau and how awful and disgusting his WEF policies are to our people. At least the bright side is we still have the beauty of the nature here in Canada, and that's one of the greatest assets about this country that makes me proud to be a Canadian, and why I cover these stories, why I want to bring this attention to people, because it's the beauty of nature is such a beautiful asset to this nation, to this country we call home, that we don't want to see it get destroyed. So remember I said that possibly this was intentional? Well, this guy points out, he says, North Vancouver, BC, that's the video is about to show you here, so-called atmospheric river. They blame climate change. I blame the government playing with the weather. HARP Station, conveniently located in Langley, BC. And for those who know what HARP is, and if you've seen our coverage with the hurricanes, you know that this is weather manipulation, that these stations are placed intact to manipulate weather patterns that happen along coastal regions. Just like what we saw with North Carolina, just like what we saw with Florida, just like we've seen with other catastrophic damages. We've seen like with Dubai, when they were trying to cloud seed for more rain, and then that became a flooding situation. Methinks that this might be intentional, concerning the factors of all this and how conveniently this all came about, causing this catastrophic damage. And we'll see the video here. This is along the coast, coastal properties in Vancouver here. Listen. We'll turn that off for that reason, but just see how damaging that is. See how damaging that is. Look at that. It's flowing down people's driveway into their homes. The catastrophic damage. Just remember, over 200 millimeters of rain fell in one day, which I don't know what that is in imperial terms. I have to... What is 200 millimeters in feet? Okay. For some reason my phone's not working, but go and search for yourself. That's a lot of rain. That's a lot of rain to happen at once. Enough to call it an atmospheric river event, which apparently happened before. And I didn't even know about it. I didn't know about the 2021. But then again, 2021, everything was all COVID. So it was hard to really tell what was going on weather-wise or anything around the world when you're told to be locked inside and don't read anything. So that's just catastrophic. But conveniently, this happened at the same time that BC was having an election. Funny how nature works. Funny how nature just has perfect timing to do a flash flood, an atmospheric river falling onto people's homes in Vancouver at the time they're supposed to go up to the polls and vote. And considering the fact that in BC, there was huge polling for Conservatives to lead against the NDP and the Liberals and the Green Party. It's almost like something is connected to this, and also what this guy had to say about the HARP station. That maybe, climate change is more trickier than I thought. Climate change isn't just, happening randomly, these occurrences, these natural disasters happening more frequently, but apparently it's also timed. And it's a very convenient factor that it would happen at the same time that people in BC were voting in their election when Conservatives were polling higher, especially in that province. And given the fact that the province is much like here in Ontario with Doug Ford, Vancouver and the rest of BC also has turmoils with its provincial election. And there was recent polling showing more increase with Conservatives. So I'm not going to jump into the bandwagon and just assume, but I'm just going to make those points and you judge for yourself if this is just conveniently happened or if there was some sort of intent between that and the fact that there was a weather manipulation station conveniently in Langley, BC, where these storms took place. Not to be the tinfoil hat conspiracy nut here, but it does seem very suspicious that they're conveniently calling this a climate change event yet again. At the same time, apparently climate change knew when democracy was going to take effect. So I guess nature's got to be the warfare, just like how we destroy other countries' democratic elections. Well, we can't sanction people anymore, so we'll just use the weather, interrupt the voting process. Just some wild stuff, folks.